Hello, welcome to JH Customs. For the first time ever, we will be going over Alien and the transformation from the first Alien all the way through the entire cinematic line and how they differed, changed, molted, all the way from the beginning all the way down to AVP. A big shout out in advance to Luke Hardman, who donated as a Patreon to this channel. Without you, this video would not be possible. So, thank you and bless you. Now, on with the video. First, we have the Deacon, the first alien. So, the pathogen was found out to be chaos in simplicity. The goo, which was in the containers, would cause chaotic reactions when brought to a human being. Dr. Shaw, however, was not directly infected. Her lover had sex with her, and she got impregnated, and she went to the medical room and cut it out of her, and it was a trilopod. So this big, massive facehugger impregnated the engineer, and from the result of that came the Deacon, the first alien. The Deacon in the movie, in the beginning, his mouth is closed, and then his jaw opens slightly and it extends, and then his tongue lifts, and you can see the teeth. The first alien is not bioorganic at all. He has human-like hands, or bigger hands, because the engineers had big hands, small little feet with toes, had 4 toes on each foot, 5 fingers. The dome, solid. The body with flesh and black ooze dripping off of him still. As you can see, his arms are long and slender, and you can see his ribs. And a little close-up of him and the teeth underneath. So that was a Deacon. He was pretty plain and simple, flesh-like I said before. Then we move on to Alien Covenant. In Alien Covenant comes the Neomorph. First, the pathogen gets into a man's ear, another one into his nose. From that, the pathogen takes over and starts making a little alien inside the body, the Neomorph. It busts out of the man and runs loose. Then they grow super fast. So the pathogen is made to make life. It's living off the cells of the human body and kind of taking form of whatever the host was. In the movie, even when he got to this size, he was mega powerful, running at super speeds through the field, and even took a man's jaw completely off with his tail. Shooting it with machine guns didn't seem to stop it very much. It kept on taking hits and keep coming. And then this is the Neomorph after it evolved all the way. This is it full grown with its mouth open, sorry. Once again, not bioorganic, this time sporting a tail. Spikes in his back, a white pearlescent color. Very beautiful. Looks like he has eyes, but they're not. They're like scars. Once again, he has fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like a Nephilim. And he has toes. 6 toes, 6 fingers. So this was the Neomorph. At the same time, in Alien Covenant, David, the android that was set out with Dr. Shaw, she reassembled him and took care of him. Well, he ended up killing her and using her reproductive organs and little amounts of the black pathogen to experiment and make the first facehuggers. And these are what the first eggs look like. And these facehuggers differed a little bit. As you can see, they had very spiky little like crab-like fingers. And then when he got the lead captain of the ship to go and look at the eggs, he was attacked by a facehugger, and then out of him came a full-size little alien, not a facehugger. I mean, not a chest burster. The first one, it came out as this little, tiny, perfect little alien. And from that, he evolved very quickly to what we know as the first Xenomorph. But this is the Protomorph. And let me show you the differences now. This is where this video differs from all the other videos. So, the first Xenomorph, the Protomorph. He has no skin. He is bioorganic now at this point. He does has acid blood. His tail is rigid and sharp with a spike on the end. The tubes are long and thin. The dome is translucent. You can see the skull of a human in there. He also has the first real long face burster. Now, what's really different about him is that it looks like an alien skinned. You can see all his muscle fibers and veins, all of his ribs. Now, once again, sporting more human-like hands still. 6 fingers, 6 toes. You can see all the muscle fibers. Like he was not completed, or he's not yet fully cured. His rib cage and the beautiful design work in the muscle tissue. You can see his ribs and all the sinew holding, and like the cartilage holding the ribs together. So he is not yet evolved to what we know as the big chap. So in the movie, he got crushed by he was super aggressive and went right after whatever moved. He wasn't as smart as the other aliens that come in the series. Now we move on to Alien. In this movie, the facehugger looks like this. Now there's a difference now. Now the facehugger has more rounded tip fingers. We bring this one back in. Look how sharp that one is compared to Alien. And this is the now redefined facehugger. A lot of time has passed. Shit went down, obviously. There's very hard time stopping these facehuggers from getting to you. As you can tell, that's a space suit. Look how deep that is. It melted right through the mask. If I remove that, the facehugger is now onto this person and will impregnate them. And from them will come the chest burster, which is the first in the movie. When he busts out at the dinner table, and he looks like that. Sleek, little tiny serpent. He has a dome on top of his head, little teeth, and little arms, and then he just hauls ass. Then he molts. And here's Ripley from part 1. She has her weapon. She's trying to get the cat. And this is what we come to know as the big chap. So at this point, as you can tell, the big chap, the fingers separate now. Still 6 fingers, but they separate. The toes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then one big claw on the back. The tubes got thicker and wider with this extra appendage. The hoses, the dome, translucent in appearance. And you can see the human skull. Like I said, they take the host of whatever they inhabit. And you can see all of the clear materials. So at this point, the hard shell is incorporated. The tail looking like the Protomorph, almost exactly the same. Up the back, it almost looks like he's stitched together. And he has the spikes on the elbows and the big hips on the shoulders. So then, after Big Chap, we move on to aliens, when Ripley tells them that these creatures are on this planet. And they said, well, we've colonized that planet, and it's been you've been in hypersleep for so long. At this point, they send Ripley back. As you know in the movie, she rescues the little girl Newt right in the beginning. She straps a flamethrower to the gun, and she goes in with double firepower to save the girl. The Space Marines did the best they could, but one by one were killed off. Game over, man! It's fucking game over! That's what he says before the aliens start invading hard. So here's the Queen alien, which you see in this movie for the first time. So the Queen, reminiscent of other aliens, the Queen has a big, massive crown on her head. Her crown is big and armored. Now this is the McFarlane version. I do not have the NECA version, but this is still a wonderful piece and holds up to the test of time. She is completely solid and armored. All the big spikes on her back. You can see all the intricate work, and she has like these little fins that come off each one. The tail, massive, huge. You can tell the tail has massive striking power. The claws. She has 4 toes again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fingers. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, 6 fingers, like a Nephilim again. And then 2 little arms below, 3 fingers on each hand. Her head would extend in and come out of the shell, and she would lay the eggs for the aliens to come out. Now, these aliens change in this movie, and people wondered why did they change from the look of the big chap. So we're going to get into that right away. So here is what I would like to call the molt, like a spider molting its skin. So we have this big chap, and it's completely translucent, and you can see the skull and the dome, and aliens start evolving. So this is big chap, just molted. Then we go to the aliens from the movie Aliens, the same exact. So they molt, and their domes fall off. They become warriors. In the series, there were supposed to be certain aliens, certain ones that would take victims and then paste them up against the walls to be impregnated, like hive mentality. So from the big chap, it switches to 3 fingers. The aliens go to 3 fingers, and they go to 4 toes, and 1 dew claw in the back. That one single spike turns into like a big blade. Also, this appendage is still the same, but the tubes seem to look a little thicker in the back. They still have the same bottom half. The crest is different though. The crest is now sharp and jagged. The eyes, where the skull were at, have now become even harder. This is probably why they're called warriors, because they even look harder. Like their ecto shell has become even harder. There is the bronze and black one, and then here is the other alien, the black and the blue one from the movie. And in one point in the movie, they wanted to get loose, so they're captured. They started hitting each other with their inner puncher mouths, and killed one of their own kind just to get the acid blood out of that other one to melt through the floor so they can escape. The tail is still the same, with little extra ridges, and goes to a fine sharp point. Then, from Aliens would be part 2 in the series Aliens, but it would be 1, 2, 3, it would be part 4, and we go over to part 5. Part 5, there's two outcomes. It depends on what you watch. There's either the dog alien or the ox alien. They call it the runner. And here it is right here. It's bipedal or quadruped. It changes now. It now has 4 fingers. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 toes. Still, the dome is transparent, translucent. And you can see all these little ridges in its head right here. Let me put this little special light. Now, once again, he is now not as hard-shelled. You can see his ribs. He's more fragile looking than the big chap. You can see muscle structure in here. At the same time, there is still biomechanic organic in here, but not as much. The tail is big, thick, and sharp, and comes to a very big, massive sword point. Then here is the dog alien standing upward, straight up. If he stood up on all. This is a fully developed dog, or ox. This one is him when he's smaller. He grows to this size, and when the guy goes, oh, he's a big fucker, and they've seen him in the hallway running. Same thing. Not as bioorganic as the other ones. You can see now he's starting to harden more than the other one I just showed you. The neck, more tubular. He loses all of the tubes on the back and the appendage. The tail, though, is still way bigger, with a way bigger blade, and still 4 fingers, and the fingers almost have like a gripping pattern to them for moving on all fours and running. Still, the dome translucent with ridges. Then we move over to Ripley 8. So, in the previous movie, she knew she had a queen alien in her chest. They wanted to use it. She jumped into the lava, but somehow they were able to extract her DNA. And she still had the blood and DNA of the queen alien inside of her stomach. From that, they made a bunch of her till they perfected her. She was half human and half alien. She bled acid. She had extra super ordinary strength. And she also, didn't know this, but she gave birth to the infant, which is a genetic freak of a mutated, cloned Ripley. In the movie, her nails are silver, just like the alien's teeth. And she is super cunning and smart and can pretty much communicate with the aliens. Then we go to the newborn. The newborn is just this big, nightmare, disgusting looking creature. He does not have an inner mouth. He has the face of a skull of almost a human. And like the queen, how the head could go in and out and retract, he has the same. Now sporting 5 fingers, like a human, and 4 toes that are webbed. His body is not bioorganic at all. He's more molted with skin and scales, and he was mega powerful. He killed the queen with one swipe to the top of her dome, completely knocked the top of her head off. So we go from the newborn to the aliens in that movie. So these are the next aliens. They are back to a solid dome. Now with 4 fingers, with a small finger on the bottom, more stringy, and you see behind there that there's little cables in there. The long spike on the elbow is now missing. They still have these 4 thin progs on the back, a little bit thinner than the other ones, but he's missing that other appendage. The tail, big and thick, with these massive bone-like protrusions coming out of the tail. And this will continue on till AVP. Those spikes end up on the backs of the knees now. This alien has 4 toes and 1 in the back. Hard shell look with muscle structure now. Also, the hip bones and the shoulders are pronounced. The dome is not translucent like it as much as before. You can still see through it, but it's very dark in the front and dark in the back. And if you didn't have a light shining directly on this, you wouldn't be able to tell that it was translucent at all. So this is the final of that design. And you can see all of the bones and ribs and all the tissue and sinew. And then we move on to AVP. Here is Scar, sorry. Here is Scar holding a Facehugger. Scar took his mask off at one point in the movie and was unfortunately infected and impregnated. This is what the aliens look like in AVP. They had an elongated skull. This is Grid because he got hit with the net and he got cut. The acid blood broke through the steel. But in this movie, they have the 4. They're missing the 5th appendage. Muscle structure and hardness. Back to 4 fingers and 4 toes with 1 back dew claw. Once again, the tail with big boned appendages and a spike. This is the McFarlane version. I do not have the Neca version. Also, they're missing, this one has the spike on his elbow. They get it back, but not on the back side of the leg anymore. Then we move on to the last and final, the Preda-Alien. This is the result of what you get when a facehugger impregnates a predator. The dome, translucent, you can see inside of the dome. He has the mandibles, just like the predator, with, if you can see that. Inside and out. He also has a crest, like the queen, with dreadlocks. Now, he's sporting 4 fingers, 2 toes and a bomb, 2 toes on the side. He has spikes on the back of his shoulder. He's also bioorganic, but more fleshy looking. As you can see, the bioorganics in here. He does have acid blood. It goes back to the 4. The pattern is changed. You can see underneath the crown, it goes from hard back to flesh. Then you get these 4 tubular things coming back out of his back. And his tail, it looks more like the queen alien's tail. Big, thick, with a long point. So, sorry, stand fell off. And then he has these appendages here and bony structures coming out. And this guy was able to lay eggs right from his own body into humans, which made him a very deadly adversary in the movie. And Wolf Predator was called in to take care of the job. So, from JH Customs, I hope you liked the video of the evolution of aliens. Please subscribe. We are now monetized. Hit that like button. We appreciate you guys, and without you, there would be no us. So we appreciate every single subscription, like, comment below. If there's something that I missed out on, let me know in the comments. From JH Customs, we hope you have a great week. And remember, in space, nobody can hear you scream.